Welcome, 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 welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You know, today we're gonna watch Diary of a CEO and his interviewing.
Pervasive myth that if you put your phone next to your testicles, your sperm count's going to drop. Like, whenever I'm in the car, and I don't know, I'm sat there or I'm sat at home somewhere, and I get my phone and I put it in my genitals. My girlfriend has a go at me, and she like pulls it out or tell me to pull it out because I think she's worried that we're not going to have kids if it's down there.
Yeah, yeah. So there is a little bit of data there in terms of, when you have these devices like in your lap or near your genitals, they will increase the temperature. And so when the testicles are in the scrotum for a reason, right? It's because they need this very perfect environment with this specific temperature to create sperm. And anything that disrupts that temperature can cause abnormalities in sperm production. So, for example, when you have a fever, because you have the flu or you have a cold, people get their sperm checked with semen analysis, and they will see that their sperm count is zero because the temperature, the fever, has temporarily stopped their sperm production. And so you can see that, people also discuss like, oh, what about boxers or briefs? What about putting? So all of these things can increase the temperature around the scrotum, which can then. So I tell patients, particularly if you're trying to have babies, is put your phone in your back pocket, in your chest pocket. Don't put your computer, your laptop right on your lap, right? I mean, it's easy enough to do, and it does increase temperature. So absolutely, yes, these things can, not for everybody, right? There's people, so we say people like you shouldn't smoke a lot of marijuana when you're trying to get pregnant because marijuana can cause problems with sperm production. But you'll see people who smoke every day and they still have babies, or you'll see people who do all of these things, right? They wear briefs, they put their phone on in their pocket, they put their laptop on their lap, and they still have babies. So it's not all comers, but certainly things that you can easily just avoid putting near your genitals.
Well, if I'm in the sauna every day, or if I'm in a steam room every day, isn't that going to have an impact on my sperm count?
Yeah. It does. And it's interesting because I think we'll see more of this as we're seeing the rise of, there's benefits to saunas, no doubt, but as we're seeing the rise of people really doing saunas all the time, there can be, so we tell people when they're trying to if they're having fertility issues, don't go in hot tubs, don't go in saunas because it could affect your sperm production. So those are sort of the conservative things we
I don't know how to take that because when I think about Nordic communities, societies where sauna is a culture, or even dry saunas are a culture, and they sit there for hours. It's a cultural event. I don't, and they don't have any problems with sperm count. So some of these things that we consider science, they're just hypotheses at the end of the day. They're not one size fits all. So you've gotten the information. I think that's the important part. Then the second part is your informed decision. It's up to you.
tell people do.
Interesting. And this point about the phone next to genitals, it's not because of like the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth are going to like zap my babies.
No, there's some question about that, but we don't know. I don't think we know, but we know there's a temperature increase, right? Because phones get hot.
We talked about masturbation briefly. One of the big questions that people often ask me when I'm speaking to someone that has expertise on sexual health is about masturbation and whether it decreases your testosterone levels.
So it does not. There is one study, and it was done in 10 men who abstained from masturbating for 21 days. And these are young, healthy men, right? And so this is where I think everyone gets their data from, is this one study. And so they took their testosterone before, they took their testosterone after. And what they found was that there was an increase by about 50 nanograms per deciliter, or 0.5, which is 50 nanograms per deciliter, which is not a huge amount, at 21 days. But we know that testosterone changes all the time. And two, there's a lot of anticipatory cues. When you've been waiting to masturbate for 21 days, like your brain is really excited. There's all these, like, okay, I'm finally going to get to release. And that in and of itself can increase testosterone. So generally speaking, there's no empiric evidence that is convincing high quality level evidence that masturbating or abstaining from masturbation will increase testosterone. And so people do report other benefits. And so I tell people, if you're getting other benefits from abstaining, by all means, go ahead, but don't like white knuckle it to gain some theoretical increase in testosterone that, one, was not even that large, and two, is probably not going to be proven in a larger sample.
What about the opposite then? Is too much masturbation going to have an adverse effect on us for men and women?
Yeah, so I think what I tell people is masturbation is generally safe as long as you are not masturbating to the point where you are now choosing to masturbate over doing anything else. So you're choosing to masturbate rather than have sex with your partner. You're choosing to masturbate over going to work, or I'm going to be a little late to work because I want to finish masturbating, or you literally can't sleep without masturbating every day. Like those sorts of things, you become reliant on this particular activity for the enjoyment that it provides. That's when it becomes a problem. But if you're using it in terms of like, I'm masturbating to get orgasm and the benefits of orgasm that I do achieve from that, because maybe my partner doesn't want to have sex, or maybe I have more of a sex drive than my partner, or I don't have a partner. Like, let's be realistic. Like, if you don't have a partner, you're going to have to, if you want to orgasm, you're probably going to have to masturbate.
And that's becoming an epidemic of lonely people. It's going to explode within this decade. Because there's a lot of people who are socially awkward because of too much screen time and not a lot of people time or IRL time. And because of that, there's going to be a lot of lonely people. Tesla Optimus can't be produced fast enough. We're going to need those AI companions.
And so I think the problem also comes in is when people only masturbate the same way every time, they only watch a certain type of erotic film, or they do the same thing every time, and their body habituates to that. And then they have a difficult time climaxing with a partner because they can't replicate what they're doing, whether what they're watching or how they're doing it with a partner.
Are we teaching ourselves something there? Are we teaching ourselves how we're aroused and how we orgasm?
Yeah. Your brain is very powerful, right? So when you're doing the same thing every time, your body's like, oh, this is what turns me on. This is what makes me orgasm. And then when you're with your partner, you're like, oh, I'm not getting that same kind of stimulation. And so it doesn't happen to a lot of people, but I would say certainly I see people where this does happen. And so, you have to sort of take a break and sort of reevaluate and try different things and get your body to habituate to different things, which takes a little bit of work. But sort of keeping it varied can be helpful.
Another big myth: masturbation will make me go blind.
Yeah, no.
Where did
There's
that come
literally,
from?
I don't know where that came from. There's like hairy palms, blindness. Like, I don't know where. I think this is all sort of like from religious rhetoric that says, you should not masturbate. And it, where that came from, is a whole other story, I think.
What do you think of this idea of November?
Yeah, so I think I'm not a fan. The reason being is because I think it makes people feel like it's something they have to do. And if you want to, like I said, if you find benefit from abstaining from ejaculating for 30 days or 28 days or whatever it is, then by all means, like, go ahead. If you want to try something, there's no harm in it. But I think a lot of people, what they do is they feel like it's something that's going to bring them to some higher level, and they're going to become this great person because they're able to conquer this goal, but they're like literally miserable. So they're clenching their pelvic floor all the time because they're stressed about how they're not ejaculating. They may ejaculate at night, and so they'll have a nocturnal emission, and then they'll feel so bad because they failed. It's nothing you can control. Nocturnal emissions are physiologic. They're totally normal, and 86% of men have had a wet dream at some point in their lifetime. Like, it's very, and more likely the longer you are from ejaculating. Your body will take care of the ejaculate if you ejaculate or not. So you will either resorb the semen or you'll ejaculate at night. And so if you want to do it because you feel, okay, I have a challenge, I want to conquer it, I want to see if I can do this, and you feel better because you're able to like not focus on sexual thoughts, or you're able to really find some other level of spirituality or something, by all means, go ahead. I don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is making people feel bad because they can't do it or they don't want to do it. And with people feeling forced or feeling like they need to do it to prove something to someone else.
Yeah, because I mean, the way that I've had it explained to me is that it's something about semen retention gives you some clarity of mind or something. Because a lot of athletes, before they have their big fights or, their bigger sort of Olympic competitions, they'll abstain from masturbation.
I have to agree with what she said there, because yes, absolutely. I like her take where, if you're doing it because you want to test yourself and see your ability to weather the storm and go through a challenge, then absolutely, then that's a worthy goal. But if you're doing it for clarity or whatever it is, where you're like suddenly have supernatural powers, that's not true. It's not. It's a natural process. So I definitely agree with that.
I often hear in the UFC, for example, the mixed martial arts fighting championship, that athletes have not had sex or not ejaculated for 2 weeks before a fight or 4 weeks before a fight.
Yeah, so there's a lot of rhetoric there, I think, that comes from historical. So even in Greek times, they would tell people to avoid having sex or masturbating prior to, big fights or just whatever sport they were playing. And so is it true in data? So if you look at the studies that have looked at people performing athletic feats, whether it's like cycling or running or whatever, they have not found that abstaining from ejaculation actually changes their ability to perform. And so in those cases, I say, well, there's no true scientific evidence that we have that it's going to improve. And in fact, if you are someone who, for example, has sex every morning or masturbates every morning, for whatever reason, that's a part of your routine, disrupting the routine can actually be harmful to performance. And sometimes the one thing you can say is, in terms of disrupting performance, is that after you masturbate, you do see an increase in heart rate a little bit. You have a rebound, so it decreases, and then you have a rebound increase in heart rate that can slightly affect your ability to recover from performance. But ultimately, I think if you find benefit from it, because people report feeling more aggressive with abstaining, then by all means, if you find it helpful, I think it's fine. But is it mandatory? I don't think so, based on the evidence we have right now.
Because I heard that rumor many years ago. I think I
this is
assumed
the
it was
part
correct. I heard the rumor, and this was a sort of evolutionary story that was attached.
This is the part of science that evidence, that and that, mandatory. Science always places itself on this pedestal, like they have the ultimate say. And these experts who have gone through education, which, don't get me wrong, is valuable education. I think that there should be room for nuance, especially when it comes to humans and the complexities of the way we interpret things. A lot of people are. There should be room for flexibility to accommodate people who don't subscribe to the things that she just postulated as scientific facts. And this is where I find a lot of the conversations today, whereas in regards to technology with AI or geopolitics, or even when it comes to science, healthcare, whatever the conversation is, there always seems to be these two or this extreme viewers or people who have opinions, extreme opinions, and they clutch dogmatically to those opinions, and without flexibility and allowing room for for their minds to be changed. We have to, yeah. And I think that, masturbating it's a biological process. It's enjoyable, but do not abuse it. Basically, don't abuse it. Well, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and you're getting the things that you want to do accomplished. Pay more attention to the process and take your time to learn the steps of whatever you're doing. Because even if you achieve the goal and you don't understand the intricacies of the steps, you have not improved. It's who you become along the way, not where you're going. Because where you're going always changes. Our best wishes.